my desk, if you would, then this is my actual desk, or rather what my desk might look like if I knew I was going to show a photo of it to a bunch of fellow HR professionals at the leading HR conference. So my job is to defend hierarchical management. It's not a trendy position at the moment, but if I was bothered about being trendy, I'd probably have a beard like David's. I decided to do this in the spirit of appreciative inquiry, which is, well, obviously some of you will know, looking at the good side of things rather than the negatives. And I was sat at my desk looking around, and I saw things that reminded me of all the good things that there are about being part of a management hierarchy. I'm going to talk through some of them now. So, management has evolved. I'm not going to try and defend the kind of brutal Taylorism type of management. So I thought, as a former philosophy student, I should define my terms. And this came from a blog called 25 by Simon Heath, whose Twitter handle you can see here, and I can see him standing at the back of the room, which sets out for me what a good manager does. And it's listen, include, ask them, be clear, get out of the way, stay out of the way, follow through, trust them, have their backs, and be present. Now, I don't believe in best practice, some of you will know, but I do believe that that is sufficient guidance for a good people manager to bear in mind. And if I've got my timings right, my Twitter account, which hopefully you saw at the beginning, @Timscott.HR, is actually tweeting a link to Simon's full blog about now. I was described yesterday as a Venn Twitterist. I think that was there as well, because I've scheduled some tweets which will appear while I'm talking. So, the second thing I saw after I'd seen Simon's 25, which is just above my desk, was my iPod. Here it is. I'm a music lover. I really have a lifelong love of music, as people who follow me on Twitter will know. And I get a lot of inspiration from music, listening to music. Has anybody in the room worked with a manager that they feel was inspirational? Just show of hands quickly. A good proportion. And that's a really valuable thing, isn't it? That's something that you take with you through your career, of your memories of working with somebody who's really inspirational. The best managers are inspiring within the hierarchical structure. And I don't mean David Brent spouting inspirational quotes. They inspire you by their words and actions, and they set the parameters in terms of your role for you to be inspiring too. When was the last time anybody in the room was inspired by a committee meeting? Automatically I can see some public sector people are in the room. I found a great quote which was from G.K. Chesterton, who said, "I've searched all the parks in all the cities and found no statues of committees," which I particularly enjoyed. So I then happened to look down and see my glasses. I am extremely short-sighted. That's not a metaphor. I am actually genuinely extremely short-sighted. I'm not one of these people who takes the glasses on and off all the time. I've got contact lenses in just to confuse you. A good manager can give you focus, and that's what this made me think of. When your head is spinning with priorities, you've got any number of emails coming in, left, right and centre, spending time inside the hierarchical arrangement with your manager can help you focus on what the key things you need to deliver are. One of the really important parts of Simon's 25 is have their backs. And within the hierarchical structure, the line manager can give you what I call overhead cover. It's one of the things I'm really keen on doing as a manager, and that is sort of giving people focus. I also was thinking, try not to do too many analogies. It's a bit like an orchestra. You can have the best players in the world, but if you haven't got a conductor to give focus to the score and develop how that's going to be performed, that's a bit of a problem. So, under my computer screen, I have a set of cards from Doug Shaw, which they're designed basically to give you some creative inspiration if you want to approach a problem in a new way. And you can see his Twitter hashtag there. And I think, and it may sound a little controversial, that within the management hierarchy, you can actually encourage creativity. A good manager can't make you creative, but they can set the conditions that let you be creative. Again, part of that picked up in Simon's 25 there by trusting individuals who presumably you've recruited yourself, to be able to do the job that you need them to do. Next, I looked up and saw a glass of water, which I'm very rarely without, I must admit. And it made me think of clarity, because I did find one that was clean, which is not always easy when you work in the voluntary sector. Management as a structure is clear, it's unambiguous. Everyone knows where the buck stops, which is critical if you work in a tightly controlled sector. One of the things that I smirk to myself about when I hear about holacracy is I try and imagine the conversation that exponents of holacracy have with the Care Quality Commission or Ofsted when they come in and ask them about their registered manager for that facility. I would love to hear somebody say, oh, we don't have a registered manager, we believe in the principles of holacracy. Well, I think CQC or Ofsted would withdraw their registration fairly quickly. Accountability is clear in a management structure, and a committee can't give you that clarity. So I saw this plant, which I had placed strategically on the end of my desk for this picture. It's not mine. We had a plant in the office. I killed it within 3 days, unfortunately. I saw this research as I was sort of looking into this talk today, which was published in Psychological Science, a document I never go without reading, called "The Path to Glory is Paved with Hierarchy." And what attracted me to it was this great quote, and it said, "Pecking orders, it seems, are not just for the birds." It's a human trait. We love hierarchy, really. The research that was published in Psychological Science showed that in the way they set it up was there were some teams doing particular tasks, some of which had a built-in hierarchy already, so sort of more senior and more junior people, some of which who were all senior, some of which who were all over the place. And the groups with the built-in hierarchy had fewer conflicts and actually higher productivity. Slides moved on to a random picture of a book I happen to have on my desk. I couldn't find another one, sorry. It's not a completely unsubtle plug for the book I've written with Gemma Rucroft that's now available to download from Amazon at half price. No, it isn't. My point is that management is like a book. It's established technology. We all know how to pick up a book and read it. We're comfortable with the concept, even if we don't always like the content. Pretty much all of us are happy to pick a book up and work with it, and no doubt many of us have read some books on management. There are a fair few of them, probably enough to fill this room, I'm guessing. But has anybody seen the Holacracy Constitution, which is one hell of a document? It would take you years to understand that, frankly, before you could even implement it. And while I was looking at it, I saw that the Holacracy website boasts that over 300 organisations use Holacracy as their structure. Now, depending on who you believe, there are between 100 and 250 million organisations in the world. So that's not a great strike rate for the moment. And then I saw my bendy man, because I do a little bit of L&D here and there, although I'm a generalist. My bendy man made me think that actually management is a really flexible hierarchical approach. It's been proven to work over all sectors, all businesses. We've moved a long way from Taylorism and a long way from theory X and theory Y. We have a lot better understanding of how to use the system that we've got. And new theories and approaches are developing all the time. One of the things I'm really interested in at the moment is some of the work Julian Stodd is doing on social leadership and some of the importance around some of the other aspects that don't traditionally get talked about in terms of management. So it's worth checking out his work. Basically, there's plenty more in the tank for hierarchical management. There are bad management practices out there. We all know that. But management is changing. Organisations with that horrible word delayering, but they are becoming flatter. It isn't necessarily time to tear down the hierarchies, because I think we risk throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And what I've tried to do today is give you an idea of some of the things that we risk losing if we do that. Andy will tell you that managers aren't up to the change that's needed, and that holacracy is the answer, or as close to holacracy as we can get. I say that would be a big mistake. And I'll leave you with one closing thought, which is to err is human, and the follow-up bit is something I've read a couple of times, which I particularly like. To blame someone else shows management potential. Thank you.